What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of AKP Sports Talk. As always, I'm Ari here with Korea. We got some great NFL divisional round playoff games coming up this weekend, starting tomorrow on Saturday, two on Saturday, two on Sunday. How are you doing today, Korea?
I'm doing good. As you mentioned it's very exciting. We have some great games this weekend. We're down to 8 teams, and you can make a case for pretty much almost every team that is playing this weekend that they're a Super Bowl contender, both out of the AFC and the NFC. We definitely have some, personal matchups like Bills Bengals, and some more exciting matchups like Cowboys Niners. To see if who has the better defense, or is Brock Purdy legit. We'll see. But it's definitely going to be a fun weekend. I'm excited to see what the two teams who had those buys, how they look in those first games tomorrow.
Yeah, well, let's get right into the first game on Saturday. Jaguars traveling to Kansas City to face Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs. Right now, the Chiefs are a 9-point favorite in this game. It's kind of bounced around 8.5, 9. Trevor Lawrence said earlier in the week he thinks that the Jags Stadium is as loud as the Chiefs Stadium, so that's interesting. These two teams faced off back in week 10, and the Chiefs pretty much dominated that game. They won 27-17, but I believe that they were up 27-10 at one point. But the Jags, that was right before the Jags turned their season around. They were 3-6 at that point, so they're a completely different team now than they were back in week 10. Korea, what's kind of your thoughts on this game, and who do you like straight up and against the spread?
Yeah, so obviously with the Chiefs and Jags, you mentioned the last time these two teams faced, the Jaguars were a completely different team. This Jags team was, as you mentioned, 3-6. They didn't really have any bright spots in the season. They kind of was like, maybe looking toward next season. I think around that time they made that trade for Calvin Ridley, and everyone was just assuming that they're getting ready for next season. But then, Doug Peterson led them on that incredible run. They finished 9-8, won a division. And it's interesting because with last week's game against the Chargers, the Chargers really let them in that game. If one possession just goes, or one drive goes the Chargers' way anytime in that second half, I feel like that game gets a little out of reach. And that's where that Jags luck really came in, because they scored right before halftime, and obviously you want to be the last team to score right before the half, because that gives you momentum going in and heading out, and that could really swing the game. And I feel like that was really what happened. The Chargers let them in, but it ain't gonna happen against Patrick Mahomes. Let's be real here. This is Patrick Mahomes. He is putting up MVP stats without his number one wide receiver. I mean, he is doing things that we keep saying this about Patrick Mahomes, that he keeps doing things that we don't expect him to do. And at this point, it's like, when is he not going to do something that will shock us? I mean, he's definitely one of the best quarterbacks right now. And it's crazy to think that he has pretty much the most, I would say, out of the 8 quarterbacks playing this weekend, you can pretty much argue that Mahomes has the most playoff experience right now out of everyone. And that's crazy to say. And he's the veteran. So, and yes, Trevor Lawrence, this is the first time, and his whole, he doesn't lose on Saturdays. I feel like the luck is gonna run out eventually. I personally, if I'm going to the casino, which definitely am, I am taking Kansas City money line. I'm too scared of that spread, because the Jaguars can make it a game. And we mentioned last time it was only a 10-point game, and that was a different Jags team. The offense still wasn't really, the offense was there, but the defense wasn't, really clicking. And now the defense has gotten a lot better. But Mahomes is still gonna do his thing, and I feel like Kelsey's gonna really have a great game. I'm also hammering Mahomes over. I think it's like 315 passing yards. I'm taking that. He's definitely gonna be having one of his classic, Mahomes just master class, whatever you want to call it, just does what he does. And then I would lean toward Kansas City money line. I'm definitely taking the Chiefs. It's going to be one of the fun games to watch. I believe I saw the weather. I think it may even rain in Kansas City, so maybe we'll have another weather situation. But we said last time about the Seahawks, and that didn't even matter. So I feel like this game was going to be a lot closer than a lot of people think. I feel like this Chiefs team will definitely kind of have the Jaguars a little bit in it, but I feel like the Chiefs will definitely get the win. Mahomes is going to do his thing. I have the Chiefs winning 34-28. It's definitely going to be a lot more high scoring. And I'm also hammering Evan Ingram over 5 receptions. I feel like he is going to emerge as one of Trevor Lawrence's favorite targets with, a really good secondary in Kansas City that has really stepped up throughout the season. And they don't really defend tight ends as well. And I feel like that'll be key. Or, they may even use Evan Ingram in the slot. And they have used him. And I feel like that'll be a key difference for this Jaguars team to really keep themselves in this game. So I'm going Kansas City money line. I think it's going to be a really entertaining game. I'm going Mahomes over 315 passing yards. And then I'm going Evan Ingram over 5.5 receptions.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. The Chiefs, I have a hard time seeing them lose this game straight up, but yeah, I do like Jaguars +9 in this to keep it. I think probably one possession, like you said, with your score prediction. I was thinking like a 30-24, something like that. So, pretty close. I could see the Chiefs getting off to a fast start, like we saw the Chargers against Jacksonville. So the Chiefs first half, wait, let me see what that is. It's probably maybe 4.5 or something. -5.5 on DraftKings for first half. But yeah, I mean, I like +9 for the Jaguars for the full game. I think, I do think that the Chiefs get off to a faster start, but I'm not a huge believer in the Chiefs secondary, where I think Lawrence can still get it done against them and keep it within. It's +9 now. It was 8.5 earlier, but yeah, my score prediction was 30-24. I like 34-28 too, but I do see some field goals coming in with that. But yeah, I like +9 for the Jaguars, but the Chiefs straight up to move on. But Chiefs -500 is tough to bet on. But so now we'll go to the Saturday night game between the Giants and Eagles, a divisional matchup. We saw this matchup the last week of the regular season, where surprisingly the Giants kept it close with their backups, but the Eagles, it was Jalen Hurts' first game back, so they were kind of getting his, just getting him back after I think he was selling a couple of weeks. But then a few weeks prior in Philly, or no, it was in New York, the Philly won 48-22, so they crushed them a few weeks before. But obviously the Giants team is clicking more now than they were even like a month ago. Eagles are a 7.5 point favorite coming off their bye. Obviously the Giants are coming off their win over in Minnesota. Who do you like here, Korea?
You see, this is hard because, we always talk about it's hard to face a team 3 times in one season. And obviously the San Francisco game last week was, oh, well, the Niners crushed them. But, still, I think every NFL team does not have the mentality of, oh, I'm going to be facing this team 3 times in 1 year, so I need to make sure I need to get ready for that 3rd time, because you're not expecting that to happen, right? And say if it does happen, then it happens. So this game, obviously, this is the 3rd meeting between the Giants and Eagles. You mentioned the first time they met in MetLife. The Giants got beat down by the Eagles, and that was an Eagles team that we thought were definitely going to be Super Bowl contenders. And then down the stretch, injuries started to pile up a little bit. Obviously, with Jalen Hurts, he's not 100%, but he's obviously going to be playing in this game. They're getting Lane Johnson back, which will definitely be helping in that inside pressure. The Eagles are also, I think, getting C.J. Gardner-Johnson, definitely someone in the secondary that they really need. And so the Eagles right now, I feel like they're just getting healthier. But that doesn't mean that they're going to be fully better, because the Giants right now, I'd say, have are the better team in terms of momentum. The Giants definitely, they had a very impressive one last week. And that was in a pretty hostile environment in Minnesota where it was packed. I mean, watching the game, you could just see all the Minnesota fans there, and definitely a true road environment. So, It's going to be a little different this week, traveling to obviously Philadelphia, where it definitely gets very rowdy over there. But that's the exciting part of it. And the Giants, obviously, they have nothing to play for. And I always say a team that has nothing to play for is the scariest team to play, because you have the Eagles, who are basically in this kind of win now kind of mode, because obviously trading for AJ Brown, that was a key sign that they're in win now mode. All of the acquisitions that they've gotten in the offseason, how this defense is looking with Slay and Hassan Reddick, and that pass rush is ridiculous. And I feel like that's going to be the true test, to see how this offensive line can do a third time against a really good pass rush in the Eagles. And I feel like it's going to be the true tale of the game. Daniel Jones can do it on the ground. We know he loves to do it on the ground alongside Saquon Barkley. They don't really get the receivers that much. And then we talked about the last game where Giants pretty much rested all of their starters. They weren't really playing anyone significant. And then you have the Eagles, who were having something to play for, but at the same time, not going in 100%, because obviously they were already in the playoffs, and they were, waiting to see whether or not they were going to play in the wild card weekend or wait for this weekend, and they got the win there. So, the Eagles did sweep the season 2-0, but anything can happen in that third game. And, if the Seahawks can get to a lead in the first half, who knows what can happen with this Giants team. And this Giants team is fun to watch right now. I've been hearing the stories. A lot of people and a lot of the G-Men fans have been comparing this season to that 2007 year where, the Giants snuck into the playoffs as the 6th seed. I think they won their first game in the wild card round, and then they beat the Dallas Cowboys in the divisional, I forgot who they played in the NFC Championship to go to the Super Bowl. I think it was the Giants, the Packers that year, to go to the Super Bowl and eventually beat Tom Brady, who had that, perfect record that got blemished. But, that's why I'm kind of leaning toward the Giants spread here, because I just feel like, this Giants team is definitely going to make it interesting. And, the way they have momentum, the way they're clicking right now, I'm taking Giants plus 7.5 right now. I think that's what the live odds right now. I like that just because, I feel like this game is definitely going to be a lot of not scoring, but I feel like it's definitely going to be a closer game than a lot of people think. And, this Eagles team is definitely a little scared. I feel like they're definitely a little nervous just because, it's always hard to play a team 3 times. And I've always said this. And this Eagles team has definitely, I wouldn't say sputtered, but they haven't looked great as they were at the beginning of the season now going into the playoffs. And, the Giants can feed off of it, especially with that Week 18 game. The Giants can definitely use that game as, a reminder that they literally just beat us in this stadium. Let's get our revenge and all that stuff. And that's why I feel like the Giants are going to cover that spread. It's definitely going to be a lot of fun. I'm also taking Daniel Jones over rushing yards. That man does it himself. He has, I think it's like over 45.5. I feel like he's going to be a lot more of that offense. I think it was the game between Philly and New York where he had that big run. I think was that in Philly before he fell? Was that game in Philly in 2020?
I believe. Yeah, I'm not completely sure, but I think so.
Yeah, he's not falling this time. He's going to keep going to the end zone. And that's why I feel like, I don't know why. There's just something in the air about this Giants team that, they definitely used all the trick plays. We saw the Statue of Liberty. They may do something. Brian Dable has so many play calls up his sleeve, and I feel like he's just going to utilize that again. I feel like the Giants are definitely going to cover the spread. In terms of a winner, I'm leaning toward – I may sound crazy, but I don't know why. I feel like the Giants are going to win this game. I feel like they're going to go on the road to Lincoln Financial, last-second field goal, win like 24-23, get the win, and move on to the next round. I feel like it's going to be one of those games where, the Eagles just do it to themselves, and they win a game they should win, but maybe it's a turnover here or, a turnover on downs there or something like that. I feel like something will just go wrong for the Eagles, and the Giants sneak away with the win and move on to the NFC Championship game. And I also have A.J. Brown going over 72.5 receiving yards. That man is the whole offense in terms of the receiving game. And, Even if Jalen Hurts still isn't healthy, AJ Brown is him. Xavier McKinney, I'm sorry, good luck, but AJ Brown is gonna be catching that ball left, right, center, everywhere on your head, boy.
So are you gonna sprinkle on the Giants money line too when you're? Or are you just
That's
gonna
what
are you just gonna play it safe and just go?
I'm gonna play it safe. I'm gonna do Giants plus 7.5. I'm not too confident about who I want to win, just because the Eagles are getting healthier, and I mean Lane Johnson is a huge acquisition for this team. They need some really good blocking up front, and definitely having your center is definitely a big acquisition in a big time playoff game. So I want to say Philadelphia money line just to be safe, but the Giants have so much momentum, and maybe it's the fact that this Giants team reminds me of the 2017. Giants plus 7.5 for me
No,
personally.
yeah, no, yeah, I'm with you on the plus 7.5. I didn't think that they keep it one possession I do like scoring. I do kind of lean the over like a 34-28 type of game, and I do think that um, the Giants defense did get better, getting back McKinney and Dory Jackson, all that, but I still do see the Eagles, not having that much trouble moving the ball down the field. But at the same time, on the other side with the Giants, if Daniel Jones can keep up what he's been doing with his, like you said, the rushing that opens up, the play action passing and all of that, I didn't think that the Giants they won't have a huge problem scoring themselves. So I lean towards the plus 7.5 and the over, and I agree with you that I think they have a sneaky shot at pulling it off a last second win. I think it all comes down to taking care of the ball, penalties, no turnovers. Daniel Jones was as perfect as you can get realistically last against the Vikings. Obviously, the Eagles defense is a lot better than the Vikings, so it's going to be a lot tougher test, a lot tougher environment, and all that. But they do have the momentum, and we'll see how the Eagles look coming off. Coming off the week off. Some teams can thrive off that week off, and some teams might struggle early out of the gate. So I think the first half will kind of be telling on how this game might go. Depending on how the Eagles look, early on in the first quarter. Now we'll go on to probably the most anticipated game of the weekend, Bengals-Bills. Obviously, the last time these two teams played, it was in Cincinnati a few weeks ago with the DeMar Hamlin incident, and I think that to my knowledge, he's going to be at the game. From what I'm hearing, he's probably going to lead them out of the tunnel. So that's obviously going to be super hype for the Bills fans, players, and everyone. I'm not completely sure about that, but I think I heard that. The spread's kind of been jumping and opened up like -5.5 or -6 for the Bills. Then it immediately went down to -3, and now it's all the way back up to -5.5. Obviously, both these teams squeaked out wins last week against the Ravens and the Dolphins, but that was last week. This is obviously a new week. I think we're going to get a better showing out of these two teams overall than what we saw last week, but I like the Bills at home to cover the spread. I think that they win by 10, like a 34-24 type of game. I think between the home crowd, the Bills defense did struggle last week, but I think the spread, I'm normally not one that goes off the line, but I think the spread is telling here for why they are as big of a favorite as they are. Even last week with the 3 turnovers, they still scored 34 points. I think that, they could score 35 plus in this game. And I do like the over. I think the Bengals are going to, score enough to put the game over, of course. But I like the Bills by 10 plus in this game. What do you think?
I'm actually the exact opposite. I don't think the Bills are going to win that 10 because I don't know. Vegas may know something that I don't, but the fact that you mentioned that this line has dropped from 6 to 3, now it's all the way back up to 5.5 for the Bills. I feel like they're already counting out the Bengals, but maybe they know something that we don't. We'll see. But I have the Bengals covering the spread at plus 5.5. I don't know why. As you mentioned, both teams struggled last week, but that was last week. Joe Burrow, and I feel like this is going to be one of the greatest games of this season, and I truly mean that. And I feel like this Bengals team, they're coming into a loud environment. They're coming into a very, very emotionally driven Bills Mafia stadium. Obviously, I believe they're also wearing like these pins that have like the 3 on them for DeMar Hamlin's jersey. But if Hamlin is going to be there, that obviously adds another layer. Just the emotion and the passion for this Bills team. To try and get the win at home. I love what the Bills are. The Bills 2022-2023 season has been definitely one of the most memorable seasons by far. And, it's just definitely telling of, just the stories that have came out this season. And it's been a lot of fun to watch. And, but after last week, because I'm sorry, I had Bills minus 13.5 last week. And I'm done covering their spreads. Their defense has not been playing to the level that they have been playing.
They're definitely missing Von Miller a lot right now.
I'm about to say yes. They are definitely missing that pass rusher, Von Miller, up front, who can get pressure on the quarterback. And, Joe Burrow, when he has time in the pocket, he lets the play develop and he just slings the ball. And, that's just what Joe Burrow does. When he has time, he sits back in the pocket. He finds either Higgins or it's Boyd or it's Chase, or maybe if it's a tech down the Mixon, whoever it is. I just feel like you can't count Joe Burrow out. And I feel like this game's going to be one of those games where you look back and see like that Chiefs Bills game from 2 years ago for the Chiefs to go to the Super Bowl. Like, it's going to be one of those games. You look back and like, wow, that was a great game. And they gave Josh Allen too much time. I have the Bills winning this game, but I think the Cincinnati Bengals will cover. I think it's going to be one of those games where Josh Allen has a minute. It's tied at like 31. It's 31-31. He has the whole field. He has the 2-minute drill. He drives down, gets the game-winning field goal. They win 34-31. They go on to the AFC Championship game. So I have the Bengals covering that spread. I feel like this is going to be one of those games where it's coming to a last-second field goal and they will be tied, or it'll be probably like a 1-point game or something. And I also like Jamar Chase. Anytime TD score, you think Jamar Chase is not scoring a touchdown? Come on now. And then Stephon Diggs, anytime TD score. Like I said, Stephon Diggs only lives in the end zone. Those are locks, Ari. Like, let's be real. Those are locks. But for me personally, I'm taking the Bengals plus 5.5. I just feel like this game is going to be one of those classics where it just comes down to the last-second field goal. And the Bengals get the win. No, excuse me, the Bills get the win, but the Bengals cover the spread. And, in the game where what we should have got back in, I believe that was week 16.
Yeah. Yeah, I did think it's going to be close. Like, when I say, like, Bills win by 10, it's like they're up by, like, say, like 3, like late in the fourth, and they got like a late touchdown, something like that. So I do think it's going to be close most of the way, and the Bills pull away and cover the spread, late in the game. But yeah, there's definitely going to be a lot of emotion on both sidelines in the field for a lot of different reasons, and it definitely should. On paper, it's the best game of the week. Obviously, it's not the closest spread of the week, but it's on paper the best game of the week. So now we'll get into the final game, the lowest spread of the week. Niners -4. Two, storied franchises. You had the rivalry between these two teams back in the day. Right now, 49ers went from -3.5 to -4. You have the story of Brock Purdy, obviously. Cowboys coming off a dominant performance against Tampa Bay. And then obviously you had the Niners blowing out the Seahawks in the fourth quarter last week. Do you like your career?
This one's a tough one for me, Ari. This one's a tough one. Because I hate both of these franchises. And I hate both of their fans very much. But, one team has to win, unfortunately. And, we always wish for a tie or, both of them don't advance. But then again, I get to enjoy the fact that one team is going to lose. And right now, I still don't even know who that team is going to be. I want to say that the Niners are going to lose, but, they have the best winning streak right now at 10 games, beating the Seahawks in dominant fashion, and moving on. And then the Cowboys, after all the hate they got last week after being beat after playing horribly against Washington Commanders on the road, they stomped the Buccaneers on the road, and now they got to do it again. And I don't know which Dak Prescott we're gonna get. I don't know which Brock Purdy we're gonna get. I don't know how this Cowboys offense is gonna match up well with that Niners defense. I don't know how well that San Francisco offense is gonna match well with the Cowboys defense. There are so many questions here because the Niners, they haven't played a top defense yet. I feel like this offense for the Niners has not been truly tested. And the Cowboys will be the first true test because they know how to stop the run. They did it last week against against a team that should have emphasized the rush a lot more. They stopped a offense that obviously was pretty stagnant, but still, I mean, the fact that they just literally eliminated the pass game was huge for them. They need to do that this week because if they really want to win this game, they need to stop the run early. But that's the thing. The Cowboys, it's hard to say that when the Niners have Christian McCaffrey as the running back. He is unstoppable. How do you stop him? And I still don't know. I still don't know who's going to win this game. I honestly could not tell you who's going to win this game. Two great defenses, in my opinion. Obviously, the Niners defense, a little more in terms of just turnover differential. They love to turn over the ball, and that's how they win games, by forcing turnovers. So I don't know if we're going to see the Dak we got last week, who is tossing the ball all over the place, 5 TDs, or are we going to get the Dak who was throwing pick sixes back in the regular season? And for me personally, I don't want to take that risk at the casinos. So I'm just going to take the total under here. I'm taking the total under in this game between the Dallas Cowboys and Niners. I just feel like, with Brock Purdy, he's never been tested against a top defense that, will get to the quarterback and can definitely do that with Micah Parsons, who is definitely that talented, along with Trayvon Diggs in the secondary, who had himself a pretty decent game. And then the Cowboys, I feel like last week could have been a fluke because they're playing a way more significantly better defense that is healthy too, and they're on the road. And maybe the turf thing was a fluke, but they're playing in San Francisco, and that's turf field. So I would love to say that the Cowboys are gonna win, but I just don't know which Dak Prescott we're gonna get. So I may, if it's coming to come to the ground, and the way the ground game is working for the Niners, I feel like the Niners can win on the ground. I feel like it'll be something ugly, like a 23-20 game. It'll definitely come down to either the last possession, where maybe it was 2017. The Niners are threatening, and McCaffrey runs it into the end zone to give them the lead. I feel like that'll definitely come down to that. And I have the Cowboys losing by 3, but I also have Tony Pollard. Once he breaks out, he has untouchable speed, and I feel like he'll have his over in rushing yards. It's at like 48.5 right now. And then same for Christian McCaffrey. That's a lock. I mean, yes, obviously they're playing one of the better run defenses in the Cowboys, but once you get Christian McCaffrey loose, he's unstoppable. So I'm also taking McCaffrey over rushing yards, but in terms of this game, I just don't really know who I could switch to the Cowboys tomorrow morning. I could really switch, but right now I have the Cowboys losing by 3, but the total under of I believe it's 46.
Yeah, I mean, I get the argument that, Purdy hasn't faced a defense like the Cowboys and all that, but I still think that you can, put that against him with what he's done as Mr. Irrelevant, winning every game he started so far. Like, I can't bet against the 49ers right now. I think even if they do, even if the Cowboys get that pass rush going, they have too many weapons to where Purdy can just dump it off and to Debo, Kittle, McCaffrey, Ayuk, Jawan Jennings, Elijah Mitchell. Like, they just have too many weapons. So I like the 49ers -4 here. I think that they win. I do think it's going to be a close game, something like 27-20. So I'm staying away from the spread because I think it's going to be right around that like 45 to 48, type of range. But yeah, I do think it's going to be, relatively close. But I think the 49ers pull away late. I think that their defense is going to do more against Dak and his, turnover issues. It is interesting because, Purdy did struggle in the first quarter against the Seahawks. He had 2 or 3 passes that could have been picked off. So I think the first quarter and how they start off is going to be something to watch because if, you can't make those passes against Dallas that he made against Seattle because, obviously it's a much, much better defense than Dallas than Seattle, obviously, all around. So I think that how Birdie and Melvin comes out of the gate is going to be interesting to see. Obviously, they're still at home, so that helps, obviously. And I think it's 2 more. Yeah, they have 2 more days of rest because it was them playing Saturday versus Cowboys playing Monday. So, with all of that, and now they're just now 11-game winning streak goes 10. In the regular season, now 11 technically with the win over Seattle last week in the playoffs. So I like the 49ers to cover the -4, but not like barely, like by like 7 points, something like that. So I think that will do it for this episode. We have the 2 games tomorrow, Saturday, and 2 on Sunday. So probably Monday, we'll recap the games, and then at that point, we only have 3 games left. We'll have the 2 conference championship games and then the Super Bowl.
Oh, wait. Are you just going to walk over the Pro Bowl games like that, Ari?
That there are 3 actual NFL games. But yeah, thank you all for tuning in and listening. Hope you all have a great weekend, and we'll catch you all next week.